Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a solo playthrough of Threshold. Threshold is a cooperative open-world fantasy RPG for 1 to 4 players. Centuries of peace is suddenly shattered in the world of Haven by the reappearance of massive thresholds. It's up to you and other brave citizens to fight back the monsters emerging from these portals. This video is sponsored by Open Owl Studios. That means that they paid me to make this video to show you how Threshold plays. Their GameFound campaign launches on October 28th, so if you're interested in checking out the game, please click on the link in the description below. Now I went ahead and I got everything set up for a solo game. This is an early prototype demo copy, so please keep that in mind. Not everything is working exactly the way it will in the final production. Today I'm playing as the Mystic. On the back of her character tile, it shows all her starting stats and how to construct her starting deck. Now, speaking of this being a prototype, this is supposed to fit snugly into this plastic thing right there, but it doesn't quite fit right. So we're just gonna lay this gingerly on top, but this is just a prototype. Now we're starting with 6 health, no fatigue, and 1 wound. Because we're playing the Mystic class, we have a set of starting cards, and then we get additional cards based on our skills. Here it shows we have some skills in nature, ward weaving, and resilience. And then as part of our 2 starting items, we get an extra ward weaving and an extra nature. We use those skill points in order to get cards into our deck. Cards have a skill point cost. And so, for example, for our 1 point of resilience, we've gotten this endurance card, which you can see down here is a resilience card that has an SP or skill point cost of 1. We also have just some cards that are our Mystic starter cards. Those don't cost anything. And then, like, for instance, here we have a nature card that costs 1, Nature's Revolt. And we actually have 2 of those because we have 2 points in nature. And here for our ward weaving, we have Ward of Protection, which costs 1, and we have 2 of those. As we collect experience and get additional skills, new and more powerful items, we're going to get to add and replace cards from our deck and make our deck more powerful. And this deck is really the heart of Threshold. Every single action that we take is going to involve this deck in one way or the other. Also, everything that happens to our character, every wound, every boon and burden is going to be represented in this deck. Don't worry, you're going to get to see how all of that works here as I play. Now, we're going to be playing through the very quick intro tutorial. After that, we'll go off on our own and do our own thing. But as part of that tutorial, we start with a wound, and so we had to put a wound card and shuffle it into our deck. We draw 5 cards as our starting hand. And then we also start with 15 money, and I'll just be using my poker chips for that. Now, out here we have the region board. This is the Heartland Prairies. In the final game, there's going to be 2 other regions, but that's not a part of this demo. And we're going to start in Brayford, and there's our little character token there. And we start out with 1 quest, and it's right there, pie delivery. Dren, Hearthstead's premier pie maker, wants to make his signature cloverberry pies to welcome the leaders of the Haven Council. We are blessed to have such luminaries in our humble city, Dren says. Sadly, Dren has run out of cloverberries and asks you to fetch some. Beware of bandits, though. They've been more active lately for some reason. So as you can see up at the top, it says to engage, defeat the bandits guarding the berries. Then on the map, it shows us the location that this takes place in, and we put a little marker there that matches the one in the image. So there's a lot of different things that we can do, but the main thing that we're going to be working on is trying to complete these quests. That's going to give us experience and money in order to upgrade our character, get better cards, and progress through the game. So we can just go ahead and get started, and we really just want to move down here and complete that quest. But before we go anywhere, let's check out this town of Brayfort. All we have to do is take this region book and flip it to Brayfort. And there it is right there. Oh, whoops, I've been calling it Brayfort. It's Bayfort. Home to the Gilded Pack headquarters. Built to protect Heartland Prairie during the Great War, Bayfort provides a natural port on Barrier Bay. Increases in trade have seen the town grow in recent years. Bayfort isn't far from anywhere in the Heartland Prairies, making its location ideal for further growth. And yet, Bayfort remains an idyllic place to call home, for now. Now down here you can see there's a whole bunch of different actions that we could take here in Bayfort. These are known as landmark actions. And the number here off to the side of each one of these is the number of cards from our hand that we need to discard in order to take the action. Basically, every action you take in this game is going to require you to use your cards in some way. So here we have all sorts of things. We can visit the Sage by discarding a card. We could go to the local healer. We can go to the Gilded Pact. And then down here it says Fish at the Lake, and it has those numbers. That means that we need to have basically completed a quest that provides us with that specific memory. That's a requirement before we can take this action. You'll see how memories work a little bit later. What the tutorial wants us to do is to go to the Potion Master. So in order to do that, we need to spend one of our 5 cards that are in our starting hand. So I'll just go ahead and discard this Ethereal Shield. When paying for cards to take actions out here, like in the Overworld, we don't need to worry about like the specifics of the card. All of that text and stuff is involved in combat. So now we have an option. We can spend 10 in order to gain a protected card, or we can spend 10 to gain an empowered card. We don't have the money to do both, so what the tutorial wants us to do is spend 10 in order to get an empowered card. So this is just a boon that we can add to our deck. Anytime you get a card, you just shuffle it into your deck. Just like that. And if we wanted to do some other things, we could discard more cards and do them, but that's going to be it for now. That's all we want to do here. And now we want to take a move action. Move actions normally cost 2 cards in order to move to an adjacent location. You just discard any 2 cards from your hand and say we could move like down like that. However, if the 2 locations are connected by a road, then it only costs 1 card. So I think we're just going to follow this road down here to Hearthstead. Again, you can only move to adjacent locations, not diagonally. Since I was entirely on a road, that's going to require the last of our 4 cards. So we just discard all of those, and we've made it to Hearthstead. We're now out of cards, so that's the end of our turn. If we were playing with other players, or if we had multiple characters, then they would get to go now, and all the characters would get to go in order, taking actions, spending all of their cards, or as many as they wanted to, from their hand. After all of that, it would be the enemy's turn if we were in combat, which we're not. So we can skip right away to the end of the round. The first thing we do is we roll the region die. And we would actually roll this for every character that's in a unique space. Again, we're playing solo with 1 character, so we just need to roll it for us here in Hearthstead. And we rolled the adventure side of the die. As you can see, there's 2 adventure sides. There's 1 blank side where nothing would happen. And then there's either 1 or 2 of those little feet symbols. Those indicate mob movements. Here in the tutorial, there's no mobs on the board yet. They'll be coming soon. But normally there are mobs out here on the board that would, when you roll that, move towards you. But we roll the adventure side, so we get to have an adventure. When this is rolled, every single character that's in this location would draw an adventure card. In this case, it's just us, and we have drawn Broken Wheel. Farmer Dell is struggling to repair a broken cartwheel. I gotta get these cucumbers to market before they go bad, he says. I'm in a real pickle. Can you lend me a hand? Okay, so now we have a little choice. Either A, we can try to lift the cart while Dell repairs the wheel. B, we could try to find a rock to place under the axle. Or C, we could provide materials to mend the cracked wheel by losing 2 supplies. Now, we don't have any supplies to start with, so we can't choose C. I think I'm going to go with B, okay? We're going to try to find a rock to place under the axle. And to do that, we need to do a skill check. We have to do a survey 4 to 6, and then it shows mind plus or minus 1. So what the heck does that mean? Now, one of the first things I should have done after the end of my turn is I should have drawn back up to 5 cards. Okay. So we have 5 cards in our hand. Now, the way we do a skill check is simply by drawing the top card of the deck. In the bottom right of the card, it's showing how much that card is contributing to this skill check. It's contributing 2. Now, what we need to do is get between a 4 and a 6. And what the mind plus or minus 1 means is that if the card has that mind keyword on it, then we can use that to either subtract our total or add to our total by 1. So right now we're short of the number that we need, so we can draw again. Look at this. We can use this as either a 1 or a 4 towards this skill check. And that's actually perfect because a 4 plus 2 is 6, and that is within that threshold. In fact, it's even better than that because if you succeed on the highest number, which in this case is a 6, that's considered like a critical success. And we might get something a little bit extra for that. Now, if we had still been short, we could have kept drawing cards, as many as we wanted to. As soon as we go over, we failed. But this is a rousing success, so let's see what we get. You find the perfect rock to cradle the axle. Dell has time for a proper repair. Gain 4 experience and empowered boon. And then shuffle in adventure AH36. And you can see down there, if we had failed, that would have been bad because the rock would have crumbled and we would have lost 3 health. So we gain another empowered. It's going to get shuffled into our deck, which there's nothing there, but that's fine. We're going to get 4 experience. Now, this is another instance. Down here, we would have these wheels that would turn. That's kind of working. Everything's a little loose in this prototype, so... And then we're going to shuffle in adventure AH36. Now, I want to point out a little something. That adventure that we just had there, that had the immediate keyword right under the name. So we have immediate adventures that you just resolve right then and there, and then you discard them. This one that we're adding in, Harvest Festival, it's an ongoing one. So when you get an ongoing adventure, you just set it beside you, you put a marker out there, and then you can sort of continue to work on it. But there we go. I'm going to shuffle that in. And then we can place this on top of it to not spoil what adventure is coming up. And then once all that's done, we can discard the cards that we used. And there we go. That was the end of the first round. We would always check at the start of each round if we have any effects that have like start of round abilities. We don't have anything like that, so we can just jump right into taking actions with our 5 cards. Before we head down to complete this quest, we're here in Hearthstead, so let's check out the place. Where the hustle meets the bustle, Hearthstead has grown from an agricultural market into a major trade center. More and more Heartlanders are moving to the city to seek new opportunities and a peaceful daily existence, away from the increasing chaos outside its walls. Once again, we have a load of different landmark actions that we could take. Resting is kind of a special thing. We'll get to resting here pretty shortly. But look here, we could go to the market, maybe get some items. We got the blacksmith, whole bunch of different stuff. But what we want to do is go here to the healer. That's going to cost us a card. We'll discard our wound for this. And it's going to cost us our last $5, but we're going to get to heal that very wound. So that means we can take the wound and discard it. And then we can move our wound marker down. Now in the case of wounds, and it shows right here, we can have a max of 1 wound. If we were ever needing to take a second wound, then that would be bad. That's when we would get knocked out or go unconscious. The way you get a wound is when your health goes either equal to or past your fatigue. And so as our deck runs out and we have to shuffle up our deck and bring it back, which we're going to have to do here very soon, that's when you get fatigue. So our fatigue marker is going to sort of creep up. And if our health were to get below that or equal to it, that's when you get a wound. But that was nice. We got sort of healed up there at the healer. And now I think we're ready for this fight with the bandits. So there's no road here. These are adjacent, but we're going to have to spend 2 cards to move in there. So we'll just go ahead and spend these 2. And now we have to engage. And engage is kind of how you start a fight. So we're engaging with these bandits, and that costs 1 card. I think I want to keep Nature's Revolt. So we'll discard our Ward of Protection. And now we get to enter a combat. And when you enter a combat, you take out this second book here, the Encounter book. We're going to look for the number that matches the quest. And there we are, pie delivery. Now these combat sections, they scale depending on how many characters are in the game. For us, it's easy, there's just 1. But if there's multiple characters in the game, the combat is going to scale up. And that's whether or not those characters are actually in the fight or not. They might be elsewhere. It doesn't matter. You're still going to need to fight based on the total number of characters in the game. So that's why it's good if you have multiple characters. You might want them to be together so that they can fight together in these combats. Again, for us playing solo, we don't have to worry about that. Now here it shows which map board, which combat map board to take out. And it shows the positions. We're only going to have 1 thief. So they're going to be right there. And the P1 is where the player is going to be. That's where we're going to be. And I like to just place this right on top of the Overworld map. Just like that. Kind of like we're zooming in now on this location to have this fight. There's our thief character right there. They have a sheet here that explains all their stats. And it shows you which cards to include in their deck. So they have their own sort of combat deck that you shuffle up. Shows at the top what our reward will be for completing this combat encounter. And it shows that they have 8 health. So we can just grab their little marker and place it on the 8. Shows that they're going to do 2 damage when they attack, when they hit. That 2 there is their defense. If they have shields, which they don't start with shields, but if they were to get shields, that's how much damage it would block. And then that boot there is their initiative. We don't have to worry about that because there's only 1 of them. Now our character is going to be right there. And I'm just laying down these standees. We could also play with the miniature if we wanted to, but I'll just use the standees for now. And our objective is clearly to just defeat all the enemies. Now, at the beginning of combat, we get to draw up to 5 cards. So we have 1 in our hand. We're going to get to draw this last one. Now our deck is empty, so we need to reshuffle our discard pile, and that's when we get a fatigue. All right. 3, 4, and 5. We always get to go first in a combat encounter. And now what's actually written on the cards matters, because we're going to be playing these cards in order to, attack, defend. Up here in the upper left of the card, it shows how many other cards we have to discard in order to play it. For instance, this really powerful Nature's Revolt, that's going to cost 2 cards. We're going to have to discard 2 cards in order to play it. But if we do, we can target each enemy in your zone and an adjacent zone and deal 4 damage. Now, zones here are referring to these different colored regions. So right now, we're in this green region, and they're in this black region. So we're not in the same zone, but we are in adjacent zones. So I could use this Nature Revolt spell in order to attack him for 4. That's pretty good because I could start by playing this empowered. Now that costs nothing, so we can just play that. And it says that the next instant attack card you play this turn deals double its normal damage, and then exile this card. Exile means get it out of your deck permanently, put it back in the boon pile. Well, if we play that, and then we play Nature's Revolt, we can discard 2 cards for that. That's going to deal 4 damage, and then double it for 8 damage, which will instantly kill this thief. So that was a pretty easy first encounter there. Let me explain a couple of other things that can happen in combat. One thing is you can move to an adjacent hex, and that just costs a card. So we could spend a card and move like that. Now let's say we hadn't killed him in the first round there. The way it would work is our turn would be done, and then just like before, if we had more characters, then those characters would get to go. Those characters could actually come and join in this combat, right? So all the characters go, as many of them as they want can join and attack. And then at the end of all that, then the enemy would get to go. The back of the enemy card actually gives us a hint about what they're about to do. So in this case, it says Pepper. So on their turn, we would just flip this card over, and then they would do whatever it says. And this would be the card that would apply to all the thieves that were on the board. In this case, it shows it's a medium-ranged attack. It says target each non-adjacent character that is in your zone or an adjacent zone and deal your attack damage, which in this case is 2. So they would do 2 damage to us, and then it would come back. It would be our turn again. If you're in combat when the round ends, you don't roll the region die. Right, you're not in the overworld, you're in, a special combat, you're not going to have an adventure. But there we go, we finished him off real quick, and so we get the reward that's on the top there. We get $2, we get a supply, I believe that's called, and that cube means that we get one of these. This is a loot die, this is a common loot die, we have common, uncommon, and rare. When we rest, we'll get to roll these and potentially get some loot. So you'll see that here in a second. We can discard the cards that we used. Now we can flip Pie Delivery over, and it shows that it's completed at Hearthstead. Now here's the thing. Instead of walking back to Hearthstead, there's something called the teleport action. All you have to do is discard your entire hand in order to teleport straight to the capital of the region. For the Heartland Prairies, that's Hearthstead. So I believe actually we did have 1 card left. So we can just, discard that now in order to teleport to Hearthstead. And now that we're here, we can resolve the Pie Delivery. Excellent, Drin exclaims. These are the most succulent cloverberries I've seen in a long time. He looks at your bedraggled gear. I hope you didn't have much trouble gathering them. Here, take a few berries, and come back later when the pies are ready. Conclusion steps, gain quest, home invasion. And then down here, we get some rewards. We get another common loot die. We get 3 more money. And we get 10 experience. There we go. So we're at 14 experience. We have $5. And we're gaining home invasion. So engage, defend Hearthstead from monsters. Drin asks you to deliver the pies. As you approach the council tent, an argument rages inside. We must protect our home. Panic will disrupt trade. How long have you known? As you listen, an alarm sounds at the city gate. Shadowy monsters are attacking. The council leaders rush out, see you, and yell, "Why are you waiting? Protect Hearthstead." Okay, things have gotten serious, but here's the thing. Now that we're here, we teleported back, we can take a rest action. You can see here the rest action requires 0 cards to play. The only prerequisite is that all members of the party are present. And now we get to just go down and heal up a little bit, prepare for this upcoming battle. So we would discard all the cards from our hand if we had any, but we don't. Although this does remind me, I do need to take one of those empowered and exile it because I did play it. We would also discard any ongoing adventures that we had. You know, I talked about how adventures can be instant or ongoing. You need to complete those adventures before you rest. We now get to set our health to maximum, which it already is, but we get to take our fatigue down to 0. Now we actually have to remove any status cards that are in our deck. And that's, you know, boons or burdens. And so this other empowered has to go away. That does not include wounds, right? You have to go separately to the healer to heal wounds, but that does involve these 2 types of cards. We're then going to shuffle our discard back into our deck. So we're going to go back to a full deck. And now we get to roll and resolve our loot die. So let's see what we get. Okay, well, this is just 2 money. And the C is a common item. And so we just go here. We have the common deck, uncommon, and rare. We just go to the common. These are all shuffled up. See what we find. We get a fractured sword. So on your person here, you can equip 1 weapon, which we don't have, 1 armor, that's our tattered robe, and then you can have 2 accessories. So right now we have the earth amulet, but yeah, we can get this fractured sword in there. The other thing we could have gotten here is this up arrow. If you get 2 up arrows of the same sort of variety of die, you can use that to upgrade to a higher level die. So if we had rolled like 2 upgrades, then we could have gotten an uncommon die. You can also use that to re-roll, like I could have used that to re-roll this die. And then again, if you got 2, then you could upgrade. So that's how that works. But hey, we got a nice weapon. It's actually going to let us add a momentum card into our deck, because that's giving us another skill point, a skill point in momentum. You can hold as much equipment as you find. You can just have it stored. And then you can switch it around at this point when you take a rest. So right now we can upgrade our equipment, change it around. This is what we want. And now we can actually level up our character. And that's where this pad comes in. So I've named our character here Alexandria. And right here you can see for this first level up, it costs 10 XP. And we have 14. So we can cross this off. This is level 1. Subtract that 10 XP back down to 4. And you can see our next level up is going to cost 10. And then it gets sort of more expensive as you go along, all the way here to the last level, 999. And you can see, like, once we get to like level 3, we'll get an extra heart. So now our max health will be 7. And then as we get to level 5, we'll be able to have 2 wounds before, you know, we go unconscious. Now, not only that, but our level is actually equal to the number of class points that we have. So right now we've gained a class point. And just like we use skill points to add cards to our deck, we can use class points to add mystic specific cards to our deck. So we can actually take the unique deck of mystic cards, every different class, and I think there's 4 of them in the game at least, has their own deck. And we can see here a cost in CP, class points. And so we can add one of these that has a 1 on it. So we could add this pesky ping, ethereal shield. We have a couple of those in there. Precognitive vision. And then this one costs 2, so we can't have this one yet. So we can pick one of these cards to add. I like the ethereal shield, so I will add that in. And now we can do the same thing with our skill points because, you know, because of this item, we've added 1 momentum. So we can now go into this giant deck of cards. We can find the momentum cards. Okay, which are right here. And we can add something that has an SP cost of 1. So we have the second wind. Ah, and sprint is 2. So the only thing we can add is a second wind. This seems good, though. It lets you draw a card, and then as a response, if you use the card to pay for a move, during combat, you can get to draw a card. So that's nice. And then if we wanted, like I was saying at the very beginning, we have 2 nature points, and we have 2 ward weaving points. Right? We have 1 from our items, and then we have 1 as an innate skill. So if we wanted to, we could get a level 2, like in nature. Like I saw nature here. Well, here's ward weaving. Okay. So right now we have 2 of these ward of protections that each cost 1. Well, instead, we could get a chain weave. That costs 2. As you play it, you add 3 counters. Then at the start of each of your turns, you remove a counter, pay a card, or discard the card. And then as a response, when you're attacked, you can remove a counter to block 2 damage. And then possibly exchange hexes with the attacking enemy. Okay, that sounds cool, but I think I'll stick with my wards of protection. Let's look at the nature. Right now we have 2 Nature's Revolt, which was really good. But would we rather have this Insidious Roots? Play. Target each enemy in your zone and an adjacent zone. Deal 2 damage. They each gain 1 immobilized. Okay, well, since we're playing a solo, I think a lot of times we're going to just have 1 enemy. So let's stick with the Nature Revolt. So every time you rest, you can do that. You can shape your deck how you want it. And this is sort of how your character is growing. Oh. By the way, this is what our character looks like. So now if we want, we can perform any number of landmark actions here at Hearthstead without spending cards. So we still have to spend money, but we don't have to spend the cards. We have 7 money. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go to the market. We can just draw 2 common items to create the market. Basic bow and a broken shield. We can then sell items for half their cost. Yeah, I don't think I'm too interested in those. I kind of like the stuff I have. So we'll just put those back into the deck. I don't really see anything else that I want to do. Or anything else that I can afford, I should say. So at the very end of our rest, we're going to draw ourselves a hand of 5 cards. And now here at the end of this tutorial, we are going to sort of reset the board. We're going to go into the region book again, and it's going to show us here at the beginning how we need to set up the mob tokens onto the board. So you can see they have different levels. You have like a level 1. So here's a level 1, and it goes right here. And there we go. That's basically the end of the tutorial. We're told that we should probably go over here and try to do this quest, this home invasion. But other than that, we are pretty much now free to explore the game how we want. Now, one thing I forgot to do is anytime you face a new enemy, so in this case, we face the thieves, you want to take all of their health markers. So in this case, we have 4 of them. And you're going to put them here in the enemy bag. When we fight these mobs out here, we're going to draw from that bag, and that's going to determine what enemies we find. Okay, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go here and fight these monsters and protect the capital. So that's going to be just 1 card to move up there. We definitely want to hold on to our Nature's Revolt. We have 2 Ethereal Shields. Let's get rid of 1 of those. And then we have to spend a card to engage. So we're going to go to the encounter book. It looks like we're going to face a masked imp. Starts with 10 health. Now our objective here is at the end of any round, no enemies remain. At the start of combat, we draw up to 5 cards. Do I have any kind of attack? I've got the Nature's Revolt. That's our big attack. Target each enemy in your zone and an adjacent zone, deal 4 damage. Yeah, let's just go ahead and Nature's Revolt. We got to pay 2 cards for that. I'm going to play Desperate Ploy and Second Wind. And Second Wind says that if this card pays for a move action or another card, draw 1. So I'll get to draw 1. Got another Nature's Revolt. That's going to deal 4 damage. So they're at 6. And then honestly, I don't see why we don't just do another Nature's Revolt. We'll discard these 2. Gets them all the way down to 2. Okay, I now get to draw back up to 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to take a fatigue. Shuffle these back up. 5. And we didn't kill them, so they actually get to take an action. It's a Cinder Sling. It's a medium range attack and block. Target a non-adjacent character in your zone or an adjacent zone. So we are deal, ooh, wow, damage +1. They gain 1 burning, and the Masked Imp gains a block. So let's check our hand here. Do we have anything that we can play in response to that? All right, we have this Ward of Protection. In response, when you are attacked, block 3 damage. So that's going to cost a card to play. I'll play this Endurance. So it was going to be doing 3 + 1 to us. So this blocks 3 of it, so it's just doing 1 damage. Actually, I have another Ward of Protection, so I could block all of it. Oh, I have an Ethereal Shield. But I think I'll just take the damage, actually, because I want to hold on to this. We gain Burning, so what does this do? So we can play it to exile the card, cull any cards used to pay for this card, so it costs 1. Forced. If this card is discarded, suffer 2 direct damage. All right, that gets shuffled into our deck. And they gain 1 block, which is annoying because it's going to block 3 damage. Okay, it's our turn again, and we're already in trouble. This is not good. I'm going to play this Ethereal Shield to just draw a card. You can see it's free. All right, I got another Ethereal Shield. That's not what we wanted. So let's play another one to draw another card. Pesky Ping is not what we wanted either. So we're going to play another Ethereal Shield to draw a card. We're going through our deck, but here we go. There's our Nature's Revolt. Now the annoying thing is he's going to block 3 of this 4 damage and still be alive. It'd be great if we could use the Pesky Ping to like get rid of that block and then use the Nature's Revolt, but that's not going to work. Well, let's just use the Nature's Revolt. We'll spend these 2. Ooh. Of course, then we won't have our Ward of Protection. I think we'll be okay, because if we look there, it says Slink Away, so it looks like he's not going to attack us next round. So I think we can do without the Ward of Protection. We'll spin those. Nature's Revolt. 3 damage is blocked, but 1 gets through. So he's on 1 health. We'll draw 5 cards. Okay, we have exactly 5 cards, so we don't need to shuffle yet, so we don't get a fatigue yet. Slink Away. Retreat and block. Oh my goodness. Okay, if there is a character in your zone, retreat 3 away from the closest character, gain 2 block. Okay, there isn't one in his zone, so he's not going to move, but is going to gain 2 block. We might need to run up to be right next to him. Although with Pester there, it looks like that looks like a melee attack. So maybe we don't want to be next to him. I kind of want to move into his zone just so we can like pesky ping away those blocks. Because like if I Nature's Revolt, I'll take both of those blocks away at least. But we won't be doing the 1 damage that we need. Yeah, I don't see any better way of doing this. So we're gonna take this burning. We're gonna play it by using Second Wind. And that's gonna get culled. And so when you cull something, you just remove it from your deck, and then there are different places you can go or something to get culled cards back into your deck. Okay, I'll then use Nature's Revolt, spin these 2 cards. 4 damage, that's gonna bust through 2 of those shields. But not do any damage. And so now Burning is exiled. But we gotta draw 5. We're gonna get another Fatigue. This has turned into a bigger fight than I was anticipating. Okay, Pester. It's going to advance and do a melee attack. If there is a character in your zone, advance 3 towards the closest character. Okay, there's not a character in their zone. Target each adjacent character dealing that damage, but there isn't one. So we were smart to stay away. And now with Shadow Bolt, we can see that they're going to do a ranged attack. So this will hit us. So this would be a good round. They're unprotected. This will be a good round to take them out. And we got our Nature's Revolt, so let's not mess around. Boom, 4 damage, they're dead. So our reward here is cool. We get 2 common dice. And we get a gem. Once again, all of these pesky imp tokens go into the enemy bag. And now Home Invasion is completed in Hearthstead. So let's go and do that teleport action again like we did before. We'll discard all the cards that were in our hand. And now we can complete this mission. As the last smoke monster falls, a shadowy figure looms, gazing at you from multiple eyes, and then fades away. Well done! Supreme Commander Sinhao, leader of the Haven Watch, smiles broadly. We will have more need for heroes of your caliber. See Council members Monk and Bex. They will have tasks for you. Conclusion steps: gain quests Bandit Menace and gain quests To the Prairies quest. And our reward is 2 more common dice. Gotta love those loot dice. 10 experience and 4 coins. So To the Prairies, it says, landmark, talk to Robin Cowell. Excellent work vanquishing those monsters, commends Guild Pact Counselor Conus Monk. We will need more such heroics in the coming days. But the people need heroes as well. Go, experience the Heartland Prairies. The council leaders request an audience. Monsters aren't the only issues facing Haven, says Guild Pact Counselor Monk. Bandits are a constant thorn in our sides as well. Our armory was raided recently. The frustration is evident as they pace around. We believe the bandits retreated to a camp east of here. Find them and return our weapons. Cool, so we have sort of a combat-y mission right there, and we have maybe more of a talky, explory one. But both of them require a level 2 character, so I think it's time for us to rest, and we can level up. We get to go to our max health, and we lose all our fatigue. We would remove all status cards, so we could have removed burning there, but that's okay. We'll shuffle our deck. Let's roll our loot die. Wow. We gain 4 common items. Okay, we got a jewel fragment. I think we just get to hold on to this and we can sell it. We can sell it for like 7 money. I also think you can use jewels to pay for different things. I like this stamina potion here. You can flip it to get +1 move. That seems handy, and that's another accessory that we can put here. I think these other two I won't equip, but I will hold on to them because I can sell them. Again, you can hold any number of cards, so we'll just leave these off to the side for now. And now we're going to level up. That's going to cost us 10 XP to get to level 2. And now with 2 class points, we could get this Arcane Barrier or this Focused Blast. Okay, Arcane Barrier is like a defensive one. I like this Focused Blast. Target an enemy that is adjacent or in your zone, deal 8 damage. It costs 3 cards, but I'm into that. We're going to have to get rid of this one Ethereal Shield that cost 1. We'll put this in instead. And then I have to figure out what happens with this cold card. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I looked it up. A couple of things. One, I think the cold cards get to be added back to your deck when you rest. Again, remember the rules are still, in a flux state. This is still a prototype, a demo. But I think that's how that works. And also, it appears as if we can perform any landmark action for free, and that happens before, we equipped our items and, deal with our cards. So I think we can actually go shopping here first. So yeah, so let's go to the market. And remember, we can sell stuff. Yeah, I'm not into either of those. But I think I wouldn't mind selling at least this worn leather. So we can sell it for half, so we'll get 2 money. We now have quite a bit of money. I'll hold on to the rest of those. Actually, you know what? I'm going to sell this stamina potion too. We're going to wear this belt. So that's going to be 2 as well. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Back to 15 cash. Ow, what the heck? Let's go to the Ugly Pumpkin Tavern. Hearthstead has its darker corners like anywhere else. The seediest inhabitants can be found at the Ugly Pumpkin Tavern, enjoying their favorite drink, a pumpkin spiced lager. So we can spend 5 for a cold, tasty beverage, gain 2 dazed, and heroic effort. Okay, I'm guessing heroic effort is heroism? And there's 2 dazed. Don't know if this is worth it or not, but let's see. What does heroism give us? Shuffle up to 2 cards from your discard pile into your deck. Draw 2, exile this card. All right. And dazed. Forced. When you draw this card, discard 1 of your delayed cards from play. Forced. While this is in your hand, it cannot be used to pay for cards or actions. And then forced, if this card is discarded, exile it. Okay, so dazed isn't too bad. I think that's probably all I want to do for right now. With this frayed belt, though, I do get another momentum. And so with 2 momentum, I'm thinking I could get something cool. Yeah, sprint. Move up to 4. I like that. So we're going to replace our second wind with sprint. Great, okay. I think our deck is good. I just got to shuffle it up and then draw 5. And there you have it. We're ready to adventure some more. I really think I want to go to this To the Prairies. So that's probably going to be our next stop. There are other things that we can do out on this overland map. For example, we can go to places like that. That's an outpost. We can take a gather action there in order to get these supplies. It's a skill check, so it's a gather 5 to 7, where mind is ±1. And if you succeed, you'll get one of these supplies. If you do a critical success by getting exactly a 7, you'll get an extra one of those. And then if you fail, there'll be a mob movement. There's also these crystal spaces like way up there. You can mine at those in order to get these minerals, like this mineral we got here. That's a very similar thing. It's a mine check 5 through 7 with body being ±1. We can also engage in like this encampment here. So there's a lot of different things that we can do here on the board. I'm curious about what this To the Prairies is all about. So let's just move over here to Heart's Landing, go talk to Robin. That's going to cost 2 cards. All right, so I'll just discard those 2. And we're taking a landmark action. The people of Heart's Landing derive part of their identity from a reliance upon one another, and part from separating themselves from the community of Hearthstead. Heart's Landing residents are generally uninterested in adhering to the habits of typical society. Instead, they gather resources from the wild, reuse and repurpose the refuse discarded by Hearthstead, and even resort to robbery when the need arises. The people of Heart's Landing live by a unique code, however. In general, they only prey upon the most prosperous Heartlanders. Okay, so we need to talk to Robin. That's going to cost 1 card as well. And we're trying to do a persuade check here, 3 to 6, with spirit being a +1. All right, let's see what we get. That's just 1 point. So we'll keep going. Another point. Nature's Revolt is 4, but it does have spirit, so that's a +1. Is that +1 mandatory or optional? Okay, the rulebook says that we may apply the modifier. We don't have to, so we're going to choose not to. That's going to be 6, and that's a success. We have simple needs, money, and we've got word of a juicy stash that only we know about. Problem is, the landscape's crawling with uglies. If you care to help us, we'll make it worth your while. So for choice A, we could seek out the stash, and then choice B, we could leave the Heart's Landing crew to their own business. No. We'll seek out the stash, no problem. So we're going to gain quest secret stash. Okay, this says engage to retrieve the caravan's loot. Robin Cowell had laid out a sorry tale of a supply caravan that had fallen on unfortunate. What sort of bad luck he didn't describe. However, there was the train full of loot, just where he described. The only problem is that a band of bandits has set up a camp nearby. Whether they're aware of the presence of lost goods, it isn't easy to discern. So that's taking place right there. All right, we need to go back to Hearthstead. So we will just teleport there again, discard our cards, and when we discard Dazed, it just goes away. The people love our new heroes, Supreme Commander Sinhao Beams. I see potential recruits here. Grand Magus Bex presents a suggestion. Have you visited our field offices in Clovershire, Bayfort, and Greendale yet? Go and see for yourself which one is the right fit. All right, so we're gaining quest region renown, and we're gaining memory 14A. And here where it says visit Clovershire, Bayfort, and Greendale, it means we can go there and take a certain landmark action. Okay, but as a reward, 2 more common dice, 6 money, and 7 experience. Pack Chancellor Monk catches your attention before departing the council tent. While you're in Bayfort, visit with the sage there. He can provide you with the guidance you need to be worthy champions. Now I also need to gain memory 14A. There we go. So we just mark that down here. Beautiful. And we might as well rest here. We can level up again. So let's just go ahead and do that. That's going to be the rest of our experience. And because we're level 3, we gain a heart. So now our max is at 7. We can roll our 2 dice here. 2 more common items. Ooh, extra ward weaving. Yeah, we'll sell the basic bow. I'm going to think about putting that in. Oh, I guess I have to remove all my status cards. I have to remove heroism and my other dazed if I do this, but yeah, what the heck, that's fine. Didn't think that through. I'd have to get rid of sprint if I changed out my sword. I think I might. Let's go to the market. Ooh, another jewel fragment. We'll sell the basic bow. That's going to be 3. And yeah, let's buy the jewel fragment. That's just 7. We'll ignore this swift ring. So for 3 ward weaving, we could get loom. Play, discard any number of cards to add that many counters. Start of turn, remove 1 counter, pay 1 or discard this. Response, when you are attacked, remove 1 counter to block 3 damage. It costs 0 cards to play, but you have to discard cards to put counters on it. And then continue to play a card or pay a counter in order to keep it in play. I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to keep my sprint for now. Okay, good. I think we're done with all that. We're going to draw 5 cards, and we are going to take off. Yeah, let's ignore this for now. Let's go around. Let's visit the different places. I'm kind of curious. So let's just walk up to Bayfort. It's going to take 4 cards. Bayfort is where we started, of course. Now, before we visit the Sage, let's go to the Gilded Pact. That's going to cost 1. Welcome back to the Gilded Pact headquarters, states Advisor Markham. Looking to protect the trade lanes or trade for something valuable? Draw 1 common and 1 uncommon item to create the market. Okay. And then it also says here that if you have memory 14A, which we have, we gain quest Price of Progress. This is over near Greendale. Engage, get rid of the bandits. Gilded Pact Advisor Markham greets you with a problem. Bandits have blocked the road to Greendale, they say. The bandits demand tolls on all pact transported goods, making it difficult for Greendale's farmers. We need to drive them off or pay them off, and I know which choice my superiors would prefer. All right, now let's see here. We get a common and an uncommon. Our first uncommon, ooh, an enchanted cloak. 2 conjuration. That's tempting. It costs 8. We have the money. I haven't been too excited about the higher level ward weavings, so this might be a way of getting out of ward weaving and into a different type of magic. I like it. I am going to buy it. All right, that's the end of my turn. I'm out of cards, and so we haven't done this for a while, but we get to roll this die. Blank. Okay, we got nothing. Nothing happens. So, yep, we should have drawn 5 cards. And now we can go visit the Sage, which is what this wanted us to do. Okay, so to visit the Sage, we draw 3 renown cards and choose 1. Place the chosen renown card onto your character board and shuffle the other renown cards back into the renown deck. If you already have an unfinished renown, return it to the renown deck. Yeah, you can only hold 1 renown card at a time. Okay, so we have Lone Wolf, Pathfinder, and Shadow Treader. And these are like extra goals that we can do, that we can complete. And if we complete enough of them, then we'll gain a reward. So for instance, with Lone Wolf, this is a great one for us. Win a combat as the only player in the encounter and do that 6 times. All right, if we do that, then we'll gain Lone Wolf. Well, we're always going to be the only person in every combat, so that would work out perfectly. Pathfinder is complete an ongoing adventure. So when we roll the die and we get those adventure cards, if we get an ongoing one, complete 3 of those. And then this one is reach the highest challenge value in a climb or delve, like skill check. And then do that 8 times. I think it's obvious we want to go with Lone Wolf. We'll just put that up there. We have a dial here to keep track of the number of times that we've done that. Okay, I think this means we've completed this quest. Oh, it has to be completed at Hearthstead. So we got to go back there. I don't know if I'm ready to go back there right now, so we'll just hold on to that. Oops, I just noticed I forgot to increase my fatigue. How about we just go down to Clovershire? We got a nice little road. It's going to take 4 cards, which I have. Clovershire appears to be a sleepy farming town, but it is home to both the Fighting Pits and the Citizen School of Bold Manners, 2 long-standing pillars of education in Heartland Prairie that often work in tandem. Hence, Clovershire is a place with 2 mottos: learn to fight, live to serve, and be better to your fellow person than finish them. Okay, we're actually out of cards here, so we're going to have to roll. Oh, let me remember my fatigue. Oh, no, wait. I don't get fatigue until I have to reshuffle. So this will be my first fatigue. Okay, then we roll. Oh, we got mob movement, but luckily, because we're in here, and you can see on Clovershire, it's also on Hearthstead, some of these locations, the mobs won't enter. These are protected locations. You can see Greendale is one, Bayfort's another. These are villages with walls and guards that keep the mobs out. So luckily, we don't have to move anybody. They're just going to stay put. Now, the main reason we're here is for this consortium. Welcome back to the Ether Consortium headquarters. Thurgist Esme says with a smile, time for more magical research or just looking for an upgrade? Wow, so we can spend a ton of money to purchase a jewel fragment. Wow, why would I spend so much money for a jewel fragment? But here we go. We have memory 14A, so we gain quest Smoke Search. Engage, capture a monster for study. Esme, the Ether Consortium field agent, has been tracking smoke monsters since the attack on Hearthstead. I want to capture one for study, she explains in a hushed voice. Esme has reports of some smoke monsters that have darkened a watery grotto at the base of the terraces. I just need some help capturing one. For study. Okay, Esme is a little shady. That's what I've gathered from that. Now, is there anything else we want to do here in Clovershire? Look at this. We have a bulletin board. Draw adventure cards until you draw an ongoing adventure card and take it. Shuffle any other drawn cards into the adventure deck. There's also the Citizen School of Bold Manners. Let's go visit there. A place of learning with a reputation as large as many of its students. When many fighters became unruly outside of the confines of the pit, a proposed solution was to educate them on the finer points of life. An education with a devotion to order and respect, with a militant fervor. So our check here is a research check 7 to 9, with a mind plus or minus 1. Also, I keep forgetting to spend cards to take these actions. There we go. All right, that's 4. Let's draw again. That's 1, so we're at 5. And 2. 6, 7. Perfect. Draw adventure cards until you draw an It's a Chest adventure card and take it. Shuffle any other drawn cards into the adventure deck. Yep, it's an ongoing. Rumors speak of a hidden chest buried deep in the Heartland Prairies. Its location revealed only to you. The wind carries the promise of treasure and the unknown. Will you claim it? And it's right here at the terraces. Well, yeah, let's definitely go do that. So it's going to take 2 to get over there. Okay, we need to spend a card to interact with this chest. We turn it over, and look at this. We have a lock that we need to pick. So all we do is we draw 2 cards. And if one of the skill checks on one of the cards matches that top number, which it does, we have endurance, then we can move on to the next lock. Now it says to shuffle the card that was unused back into your deck before attempting the next tumbler. So I believe that this card gets discarded, and then the one that you didn't use gets shuffled back in. And now we're looking for a 1. So that's a 4. Ooh, and there we go. Pesky ping. That's a 1. So we move on to the next one. Now we just need a 1 or a 2. So again, I believe this one gets discarded. This one that we didn't use gets shuffled back in, which I only have 2 cards here. So they're both going to come out. We just need a 1 or a 2. Oh, and we don't have it. We have a 3 and a 4. Oh, and I guess technically we would hold these ones that we used successfully off to the side, and we would discard them now. So that was a failure. But we can try again. We just have to spend a card from our hand in order to initiate it again and try again. Now we're out of cards, so that's going to be the end of our turn. We have to shuffle, so that's going to be another fatigue. And yes, I'm going to keep trying to pick this lock until I get it right. Does mean that we have to roll this, and now we are vulnerable to a mob attack. Okay, 2. Now, we don't get attacked right away, I should say, to be clear. Now, when a mob moves, it's always the closest one that's to our region. If there was a mob already in our region, then it would attack, and we would have a combat. Instead, we're just going to look at the closest one, and it's going to move either 1 or 2 to get in with us. So now the next time we will have a random encounter. But that's fine. Let's just spend 1 to work on this lock. Drawing 2 cards. And that's a failure. So we have to discard those. Let's try again. I really want this treasure. Okay, here we go. The 2. So we got the 2. So we just put this off to the side. This gets shuffled back in, which is unfortunate because that's a 4. Now we need a 1. That's a 2. And that's a 4. God. Okay, I'm going to try again. I'm going to try one more time, because then I'll have enough cards to just go back to Clovershire. Okay. Ah, there was the 1! But nope, that's a 4. I have too many 4s right at the moment, so that's a fail. We're going to spend 2. Travel back to Clovershire. It's going to be the end of our turn. We have to shuffle, so more fatigue. Maybe I'll cut ahead until I've actually cracked this safe. Okay, it took a couple more tries, but I finally did it. I cracked the lock. I got my 2 bits of loot. I've now teleported all the way back to Hearthstead. Before we check out our loot, let's finish up this quest here. Pack Chancellor Monk chuckles when hearing about the interaction with the sage. He may seem confused, but you always get what you need. You know, while you're in Hearthstead, it's not a bad idea to visit the Vocation Center. You might learn something. So conclusion, we gain quest Job Hunt, and we're also getting 3 money and 5 experience. Job Hunt, gather 1 supply and mine 1 material each. There are many ways to contribute. Many of them are less flashy than that weapon there. The Vocations Director has high-minded ideas about what amounts to errands. She has set out the task to collect some specific materials. Materials that will allow the collector to craft or brew items of value. Gather supplies at outposts and mine materials at crystals. Great, simple enough, but what I'm excited about is getting our loot. So we're gonna rest. Huh. Oh yes, a rare and an uncommon. So this is gonna be our first rare item. Okay, we have ring mail and a title shield. None of these are anywhere close to what we're working on. 2 resilience and 1 bulwark. So those were a bit of a dud. We can sell them probably. In fact, I think I will go to the market. We can get 2 more commons in the market. Conjuration. Actually, maybe we'll go full into conjuration. If we were to get rid of the touted robes and do our enchanted cloak, and we get rid of the fractured sword, and we do this orb of light, which costs 5. So I'll sell this ring mail for half. That's 6, so that'll be +1. And that's going to radically change our deck, because now we have 3 conjuration. So we're still going to have 1 ward weaving, so we'll have our ward of protection, but we won't have a second one. That has to go away. We have our resilience, but we're down to 1 momentum, so we'll have to get rid of that sprint. Still have 2 nature. Okay. So with our 1 momentum, we'll get second wind instead. With 3 conjuration, we might be able to get something pretty cool. Here we go. So for 1 skill point, we can have spectral sword. This is really cool. You play it, it stays out there, and then at the start of your turn, you can add a counter. And then at the end of your turn, you have the option of whether you want to use it to target an enemy in your zone or an adjacent zone, and then you deal 2 damage for each counter, and then you discard the card. So this is like a sword you can charge up and then unleash at the very end. That's pretty cool. You can have a max of 2, though, in your deck. Now, for 2 skill points, we can get an ethereal dagger. So as a response, when you're attacked by an enemy that is adjacent or in your zone, or an enemy moves adjacent to you or into your zone, deal 5 damage to that enemy, then discard this card. I see. So you play it, it sits out there, and then when that happens, you can unleash it. That's very cool. We could, we have 3 points. We could have a spectral sword and an ethereal dagger. Or we can just go straight to the big boy, number 3, drawing power. Free to play in an instant. So when you play it, you draw 1 card for each of your delayed spell cards in play. That's a little less useful for us. So I think let's go spectral sword and ethereal dagger. And we still have the 2 nature's revolts. And we still have the focus blast. So now we're just adding some really cool attack cards there. Love it. I think that's going to make us much stronger. The fatigue all goes away. And now we're ready to go back out there. We have a ton of quests to pursue. And there's a ton more stuff that I haven't shown, but I think that's gonna have to do it for me. This has been Threshold. The GameFound campaign starts on October 28th. So if this looks interesting to you or you want some more information, please click on the link in the description below to check it out. That's all for me. I'd like to thank all of the financial supporters of Totally Tabled, including the totally radical Dr. Casey, Hextra, Mitch Fisher, John Kohler, Scott Myers, and Jay Satterwhite, as well as the totally bodacious Lancelot CNS. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can join on YouTube or my Patreon at www.patreon.com/totallytabled. You'll gain access to my new exclusive podcast, Table Talk, as well as unboxing videos and whatever extra stuff I come up with. As always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.